Without the community support, we would not have been where we are today, having an award-winning parks and greenway system with over 200 parks and over 120 miles of greenway. So really many thanks to the community.
Hey, Raleigh, curious about how things really work in your capital city? We've got answers straight from the experts that make it happen. Welcome to Your City Answered. I'm Katie Dombrowski. In 2022, Raleigh voters approved $275 million to improve parks and greenways across the city, all with the goal of creating spaces that are healthier, more connected, and built for everyone. Our question today comes to us from resident Chastity and her young cousins. How does the city decide what to use parks bond money for, and how do they know what playground equipment kids and families actually want? Let's head over to Chavis Park to get all the answers from Capital Project Superintendent Shawsheen Baker.
We approach that from multiple angles. And first and foremost, we follow several high-level guiding documents of the city, including the City Council strategic initiatives and the citywide comprehensive plan, as well as the citywide parks and greenway system plan. Because we need to make sure that whatever bond proposals that we end up developing align with the directions and strategies and policies and outline in those guiding documents. That's very important. And second, staff has substantial amount of information that help inform the development of the bond proposals. And we have very in-depth condition assessments of the parks and greenway facilities. And we have just layers of data on social equity, priority, and park and greenway access needs, as well as community and environmental health data. So we compile all those data sets together to help inform the development of the bond.
Is that, are those data sets the first thing that you look at when deciding how bond money gets spent, or?
Well, they all go hand by hand, like the side by side and together. In a little checking, we have staff checking on the guiding documents as well as compiling all the data sets. But of course, those are happening closer to the beginning of the bond development. And the third component, or the third angle I was going to mention, that probably starts about midway and towards the end. That is the most important, probably, the community engagement. And take 2022 bond, for example. And the city council, for that bond, city council specifically asked the Parks Board to work with staff to develop the 2022 Parks Bond.
Okay.
So the Parks Board, working with staff, we looked at prioritization matrix, and the Parks Board hosted a series of workshops and open meetings and hearings, and to work with the staff as well as the community to develop a draft list of the recommended bond projects for the packet. And after that, we then presented the draft list to the community at a series of open houses throughout town, throughout the city. And then we incorporate the feedback from the community, working again back with the Parks Board to develop a final draft list. And then the Parks Board presented this draft list to City Council. And then City Council went through their deliberations before finalizing the bond packet and then put it on the November 2022 ballot. That, I believe, all those things all working together to develop this particular, the 2022 Parks Bond.
So is that using that community engagement that happened during the process for the 2022 bond? Is that how you and your team determine which projects you start on and what you're working on now? Or is there more to it than that?
Yes. You got most of it. Okay. And working with the Parks Board, the community, we finalized the project list. And the project list was very specific, exactly where we're investing and what projects we're working on. And they were already finalized before they go on to the bond ballot. And once the bond was passed, again, many, many thanks to the community. We now start working out those projects one at a time. And
So during that
great.
engagement process, I imagine you also heard from the youth of our community. And I think that we know a lot of our youth, a lot of our kids love our parks, they love our playgrounds. So how do we know, like, how do you guys decide? Here we are at Chavis, we have an amazing playground here. How do you guys pick the cool stuff that gets built here, or maybe what turf you use, or like how does all this come to be using the information you got from the community?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And thank you for thinking that we have cool equipment, and we think
Yeah.
so. And first, I want to say that playground projects, they're my absolute favorite projects, and I call them my dessert projects.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. And we do involve multiple parties when it comes to developing the actual playground concept, and whether it's a rebuild, a renovation, or a brand new playground. First, we check with staff, check with the site operation management and maintenance staff, because they have firsthand experience and observing how the playgrounds are being used by patrons, by kids, and how they maintain the playgrounds, and what kind of maintenance issues that we might have that we should try to avoid. So staff is one party. And the second, again, back to the community engagement again, we do work with neighbors and residents to develop the concept. Sometimes we put together a little charrette with the neighborhood members and grandparents, parents, and kids, and to understand what they would like to see. And sometimes we have a draft concept. We present the draft concept at open meetings. And sometimes we even take the plans out to a playground that we're going to renovate, and we check with the
Okay.
users, check with the kids, and what would you like to see, what colors you would like to
Oh, fun.
put on the equipment. Yeah, playground projects are really, really fun.
I'm sure they are.
Yes. And the third leg is that we don't just work with what we have understood, what we have in the system. We are constantly working with the playground equipment manufacturer development teams and consultants, and we go to conferences and obtain continuing education credits, and to understand the industry standards, the
There's
industry
playground
trends.
conferences. That sounds fun.
We have parks and recreation conferences.
Okay, those also
and
sound fun.
They're very fun. And they even have a new play equipment.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, on the floor in the exhibit hall. You should
cool.
have one of those, right?
Okay.
We work them to understand the industry trend and best practices, because we can't just work with what we know, what we have, and we need to keep introducing new elements, and that have been researched by a lot of other people. I do want to give you an example, Katie, and for Sassafras, our children's playground that was built over 10 years ago, I want to say. And for that team, we had the playground manufacturers development team. Of course, we had a landscape architect, we had civil engineer, and we also had professors from the UNC system who were specialized in early childhood
Oh,
development,
wow. Okay.
as well as local pediatrician physical therapists.
Wow.
Because, yeah, that playground was supposed to be accessible, all inclusive, universal design. So we had really good variety of expertise on the team.
I love that.
That's how we picked the play equipment.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps.
It does.
I do want to say a big thank you to the Raleigh community, to the residents who have been supporting the Parks and Greenway system, because without the community support, we would not have been where we are today, having an award-winning Parks and Greenway system with over 200 parks and over 120 miles of greenway. So really many, many thanks to the community.
We had all of our 2022 engagement. We've got the bond. Now all these projects are happening. How can people who maybe either participated a few years ago and maybe now they're onto other things, now they're like, oh, the bond stuff, like parks, what's happening? How can people get back into the fold, back informed, and know what's going on with the bond and parks projects?
Yeah, very, very good question. A lot of people ask that question, actually. There are several ways. And one is that there's this wonderful website, in case you haven't heard, RaleighNC.gov.
Yes, good website.
Exactly. You get on the website, you can search for the location or the park or the project with the keywords, and they will pop up. And most of our capital improvement projects have a website with the project manager's contact information on the right-hand side. And you can reach out to us anytime and to ask for additional information. And there's also, Katie, you know this. We have this newsletter sign up on the website. Again, also on the right-hand side. And you go for the newsletter sign up. You can choose to focus on which park or which community and which project you want to hear updates for. As you sign up, you will receive updated information and meeting announcements and everything.
Perfect. Got a question you'd like us to dig into? We'd love to hear it. Visit RaleighNC.gov and search podcast to submit your questions. Plus, catch every episode. Thanks for listening to Your City Answered, where your questions lead the conversation. Brought to you by the City of Raleigh.